Welcome back to the final episode of our series, How to Make Passive Income with Vacation Homes and Rentals. If you've been with us the whole time, thank you. And if this is your first video, be sure to check the rest of the series so you don't miss out any of the key steps. Today we're looking ahead. What's next for real estate investors? From industry trends to new strategies, we'll cover what you need to know to stay ahead in 2025 and beyond. Okay, so we're looking at trends and strategies in real estate investment for 2025 and beyond. And so really kind of the first top question is, how have recent market trends impacted the demand for second homes and vacation rentals?
Well, demand is actually, in my opinion, up for second homes and vacation rentals because we are seeing that interest rates are coming down a little bit. Thank goodness. Gratefully, I'm not having to do a whole lot of rate buy downs and offers right now, which I had to do a considerable amount last year. Right. So I do feel like the demand is up. Now we are still struggling with some of the pre-COVID or during COVID unrealistic expectations of interest rates and rental returns. But I do feel like that the demand is coming back, especially here, because look where we are. We're on 30A. God's not making any more of this. People are always going to want to come to 30A and vacation.
Right. No, and I just to tag on a little bit on the interest rate piece of it, I do think that people are starting to get more comfortable the rates are where the rates are, right? And in like all of last year, there, at the end of 2023, leading into 2024, there was all this kind of, media outlet and kind of whisperings of, well, the Fed's going to drop rates all of 2024, right? And they did do a couple of small rate drops, but it wasn't to the tune of what the whispers were going to be, right? It wasn't like, several times over the course of a year at several points, right? So there were small marginal adjustments. And I think now that we've turned that and we're looking at this year, right? So rates now are considerably less than what they were last year, right? Through just, kind of small tweaks, but just they've naturally, deflated a little bit. And I think that, that may carry forward because, again, the Fed's already said, like, we're not really looking at rates this year, right? We're going to see how the market kind of, breathes and what happens with it. But like we were talking about off camera was, if you look at recent history, rates look high, right? But if you look at over the course of what the natural run is for rates, they're kind of right where they're supposed to be, right? And I think that, it will, continue that way for this year, but people waiting on the sidelines for a huge rate drop, I think they need to adjust their thinking.
The challenge is if we do get a huge rate drop, we're going to have a very large price increase. So what would you rather? You can always refinance a property down the road. Right. But you're not going to be able to rewind and get that lower price.
Yeah, pay me now or pay me later.
Right. And I think at least I've accepted, and the people that I talk to, we've accepted that rates are what they are. Right. We joked about it a minute ago. We were spoiled for so long having those extremely low rates, and we're now paying for that. That's why inflation is what it is and what it's been, and why rates had to increase so dramatically to try to combat inflation, and they're still dealing with that. And this is a more normal rate. We're really at a more normal rate if you look at the last 40, 50, 60 years. This is a much more normal rate and probably where we're going to stay. I'd love for us to get back down in the fives, but I don't see a time where we're ever getting back in the twos and the threes. I think that was just an anomaly.
Right, and I think it helps the people understanding the rate too. Like you said, they can refi in their whole overall kind of information or the data that they're collecting about an individual investment property. From like, okay, I got to get a management team, I got to get the inspection done, I got to look at all the things, but rate is a piece of that. And I think that, them understanding rates are where they are now, and if they come down, you can always refi. But, if you like the property, get the property and start working on that organic appreciation, right? Yeah. What strategies do seasoned investors use to build a diversified real estate portfolio? Boog.
Well, I should have looked at that next question coming up. Again, I've touched on this before. It's really about the relationships that you have. If I'm going out there trying to figure all this stuff out by myself, if I'm trying to figure out where the right property is and the right location, is, and what the right amenities are and what the house is going to generate in an investment, then, I'm not going to be successful. So I want to partner, and I want to have, cultivate really good relationships with real estate professionals, management company professionals, and those opportunities are going to come to me. I said this earlier. If they know that I'm an investor and that I'm really trying to grow my portfolio in a particular market, then Kendall's obviously going to come to me with opportunities that she's going to have, because she knows I'm a buyer that really wants to grow a portfolio. And Brandon, if I reach out to him for some projections or some things of that nature, he's going to respond very quickly and try to help me make those decisions, because he's not looking at just adding one property. He's looking at potentially adding more and more properties. So to really grow your portfolio, it's growing your resources. It's growing the people that can help you do that. So it's those relationships, developing and enhancing those relationships. I would say that's first, before there's only one of me, and I don't live in this market, so I can only be here so much. But the people that live here, and they're here every day, and they're seeing the market trends every day and seeing the new properties that are coming on the market every day, having a relationship with those folks and them directly responding to me is going to be the first step.
No, that's good. How can new investors identify emerging markets with strong potential for vacation rental growth? Is that something that they would come to you and say, hey, where do you see your strongest rentals? And is that a hot spot, or is that something with you where you're starting to see, maybe a revitalization of a neighborhood, like either through fix and flips or restorations, or maybe it's just a new market where they're building new construction or something?
Yeah, for example, here we've seen so much growth go further and further and further east that eventually we had to go past 30A. Investors are moving right off of 30A into places like the west end of Panama City Beach and Caroline Beach and things of that nature, because the cost of entry for some of them was just too high on the east end, and so they moved out a little bit over the bridge, if you will. And then now all of a sudden those properties, because they're buying at a great rate and they're turning them to look more like our 30A properties, those properties are now getting the better and better rental returns. And I think that's a really good way. And we're also seeing it going on the west side too, like going back into Miramar Beach, going back into Destin.
Right. So. And if you can get on those, that gets back to your 10%. So if you can find that property in an emerging market or something and get a good price for it, then you can get that 10% you were looking for.
Yeah, and I think then at that point, especially with an emerging market, your time horizon has to maybe be a little bit longer versus, again, COVID was the anomaly with everything in terms of price per square foot that we saw from an increase standpoint. Even from an investor standpoint, you could watch something, increase dramatically, price per square foot rise. You obviously saw incredible rental returns because people had time to vacation and they could work from anywhere, and what better place to do it. I think, if you're looking at an emerging market though too, most of them happen because there's great amenities and there's great things to enjoy. Down here on 30A, we have some of the absolute best beaches, some of the clearest water, an amazing community. There's so many different communities that span across Highway 30A, so many different great restaurants to visit, so many different offerings for families that are looking for different aspects of vacation right in a very small strip of a highway. But a lot of people hear about those things and they'll call me, and when they try to get involved in a new market, sometimes people are like, hey, I really want to reach out to a property manager because that's going to kind of what I want to base my decision off of, and talk to them about what's been working for them. Sometimes, a lot of times, I work with real estate professionals like Kendall that says, hey, I have a buyer that reached out that really heard or vacationed there that really wants to enter this market. Here's kind of their price point. We need to find them something, kind of what Boog was saying, that's going to do X amount of dollars in gross rental revenue. Let's work together and partner on this. So I'd say that's definitely a great way to go.
Yeah. All right. What role does technology, so booking platforms, property management tools, play in managing rental properties effectively?
play a big role. There has been more technology solutions, I feel like, for the short-term rental world over the last 3 years than I've seen ever. From pricing technologies to maintenance and cleaning softwares to property management softwares to insurance providers. There's so many different technologies. Now, for a different property manager, some of those are going to work better than others. You really also have to determine how you're going to run your business to find the right technology. But technology is very, very important to help you be efficient. However, it does not, in my opinion, even come close to replacing human capital. People are what generate the best guest experience. Right. You can automate some things in your business, and you should, but you should never remove that person that's going to be out there at 11:30 at night when they get a phone call from a guest that's having trouble working the garage door and can't park the golf cart inside, and it's raining, and what are they going to do? And they go over there with a bottle of champagne and say, hey, here you go, and help get that garage door open. Those little touches go such a long way. So, yes, softwares are fantastic, but they will not, you still have to have that human element to what it is we do, especially in the hospitality space.
Okay. No, that's good. And as we kind of wrap this up, I guess the big question is, what advice would you give someone considering their first vacation rental or second home purchase in the current market? And then kind of what are some key things with that?
Well, I think we identified that first, and I'll turn it over to Kendall, but it's really, what do you want this property to be? We were all talking about this earlier. Is this going to be a true investment property like that I would look at, that I don't allow my kids to stay at or any of my friends or family? It's all investment. Or is this a second home that I'm going to utilize to really have a great experience with my family, and when there's time, I will rent it? So you got to answer that question first, and then that's going to kind of dictate what type of property you're going to want, what area you're going to want. If you don't care about maximizing rental, then a lot of more personal preference would be in it, But if you're really wanting to maximize rental, then it's basically what the rental management company is going to tell you that you need to get. Is that fair?
No, that's very fair. And from there, once you have really identified that, I think truly understanding the costs and truly understanding what your expenditures could be on a monthly basis if it's not renting a particular month. Obviously, we know in the peak season it's going to likely more than cover itself, but there's going to be times in the off season it's not. So from a carry cost perspective, from a financing perspective, really understanding that and making sure you're not going to get yourself in a position where you're uncomfortable financially. There's nothing worse than being house poor.
Right.
So I think that is absolutely paramount.
And that's one of the things that we look at is we really try to get people in products that make sense to them and, approve them for price points that they can digest, looking at their entire financial package, right? So we want to make sure that we get good rentals, right? Like we've talked about, you can get 5 different rental projections, but you really, need to make sure that you're with some tried and true rental companies, that you're getting good projections. And then from there, we can work with those projections, work with the financial complexities of the client, and then say, hey, here's a great investment kind of approval amount for you. And then, go start work with Kendall and try and find that right property.
Right. And sometimes just because you can't afford it doesn't mean you should.
Right.
I was told I was one of the only agents that ever told someone that. But why would I be proud to have someone get into something that would make them financially uncomfortable later?
Right.
You can always trade up to that once you've gotten the proven rental income. Yeah. And once you have the property appreciate, you can get the beachfront property.
Right.
So.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I really want to thank you guys. You took a lot of time out today to kind of walk through a lot of this. Kind of people, have all these questions in their head, and they're like, and they hear things, or maybe they see something on social media where it says, yeah, just go buy a second house and rent it out and you're going to be a millionaire, right? And that's out there. It really is, manage it yourself, use, a piece of paper and a calendar and try and figure it out, right? And so I think the insight that we kind of provided for the listener and the viewer today is key, because it comes from a lot of perspectives that have a lot of experience that's in this space, and it's a lot of good information for them to use. So, do you have any kind of good final thoughts to give out?
I think that last point, and I've kind of made this a theme, but there's a reason there's 4 of us here. There's not just one of us here. You've got a real estate agent, you've got a mortgage, professional, you've got a property management professional, and you've got somebody here that's, tried to maximize their investments in real estate. And it takes all those different hats, and it's very rare. I've not met anyone that can do all that by themselves, So again, it's surrounding yourself with the right professionals and to maximize your investment opportunity.
Having trusted advisors is key, for sure. You should not go this alone. You need to make sure you're working with someone that knows what they're talking about and will give you good, sound, honest advice. Because there's a lot of people that will tell you what you want to hear.
Right.
Not the truth.
Right. It's about partnerships for sure.
Absolutely. If there's one word that I would say that sums up this entire conversation is relationships. Mm-hmm. And truly it is. Between every part of this process, there are so many moving pieces. Don't go at it alone. Surround yourself with the right people, get the right answers, make an educated decision, spend the time to do it the right way, so that way you're not trying to spend a lot of time unwinding a very bad decision, because that can happen, and that's the last thing anybody wants to deal with.
Right. All right. Well, thanks again, everybody. I appreciate it. Again, I really do appreciate it, and we've got a lot of good information out there to help people get into this space. That's it for our series on how to make passive income with vacation homes and rentals. I hope this is giving you the tools and the confidence to take action and start investing. If you found this valuable, be sure to hit subscribe and the bell icon so you stay updated with our future videos on real estate investing, market trends, passive income strategies, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.